fast they are to transport. This was an issue for the Soviets in particular because of the remoteness of many of their strategic locations for launch sites that the Soviets could use to fire ICBMs over the Arctic towards the continental US. With no roads or landing strips in those areas, the only way to actually get an ICBM to the necessary location was to send it by train. But those train tracks would draw a line right to the launch sites. Soviet infrastructure did not rely on rail transport in general, meaning that any new railroads that the American U-2s observed would both stick out like a sore thumb and lead directly to the site of a launch facility. Obviously, that was going to be a problem, and a new road or airstrip large enough to facilitate transport of ICBMs would also not be great. But a helipad, well, that could be concealed much more easily, as any kind of vertical takeoff and landing aircraft requires far less space to touch down. The Soviet helicopter insisted that it's large enough to fit an ICBM. It could very well solve the transport issues their ICBMs were causing and ensure the international order of mutually assured destruction could continue being upheld. For party leadership, there was one place to go in order to get this done: the Mil Design Bureau of the Moscow Helicopter Club, headquartered in the town of Torino, Russia. Mil had already entrenched themselves as the Soviet go-to for all things helicopters, and had just introduced the Mi-6 helicopter design, both the world's largest helicopter at the time and a successful engine in its years supporting the Soviet armed forces. The Mi-6 had broken a number of world records when it began service, and the Soviets' new helicopter would need to break them all again. Mil's new design would have to be able to lift some 20 to 25 tons of weight, plus its own mass, in long-haul flights across the Soviet Union. This was enough capacity to hold 3 kinds of ICBM, or just as usefully, a large amount of conventional weapons. But balancing this kind of weight and the long tube-like shape of a missile would be impossible in a helicopter with one top rotor. After all, helicopters are hard to keep stable even at the best of times, and a 100-foot-long craft really shouldn't rely on one metal tail rotor. Plus, a single rotor wouldn't generate enough lift to get the thing off the ground in the first place. Also a problem. The Soviets explored a tandem rotor system like the United States used on their Chinook helicopters, but these had their own problems, and eventually the engineers in charge gave up on that idea. The concept they came to instead was a so-called traverse layout, 2 equal-sized rotors on either of the support wings, which were believed to give enough stability that the helicopter could at least maintain safe flight. The modern Bell Boeing V-22 Osprey actually uses this very same concept. The Mil design would have a massive rotor span from tip to tip, almost 220 feet or 67 meters. It would be powered by 4 D-25 engines of 6,500 horsepower each. This design blew Soviet expectations out of the water in terms of carrying capacity. In addition to its own weight, this unit...
When the Mi-6, now to designation Hook, took flight in 1957, it was the largest helicopter in the world. Its robust construction...
This video is brought to you by Squarespace. In 2002, during the Battle of Taifur Gar in Afghanistan, US Special Forces, led by SEAL Team 6, fought a bloody 2-day battle against the Taliban, losing 2 Chinooks in the process. After the battle, the question of how to recover these lost Chinooks
breathing. It was just too much for him.
I've been waiting for you. I've been waiting for you. You're on the right path.
Well,
That too. But more important, what you tell.
well, let us what
You have noble up your destination.
I will.
Traversed.
No. No. Here's that stash. Just like that dog told me. Where's that? He was just lying here. Imminently. Let's get out of this forest quick. Hold on. Let's talk about this.
Hello. So, Fizesh.
Hold on. Let's just talk about this, eh? Okutya Sagba Akoria? Meet. Meg. You Nemali. You won't get anything out.
Got it.
Frustrated the army. You see, an MH-47 was a 12-ton beast without a rotor and crew, and they were stranded at an altitude of 2,600 and 3,100 meters above sea level, respectively. A Super Stallion, the heavy lifter that the US had at its disposal, could lift around 9 tons at that altitude, so the planners turned to a controversial and unconventional solution. The Super Stallion might have been America's heaviest lifter, but it wasn't the strongest helicopter in the world. So the US Army found itself contracting a civilian company that operated a Mi-26 from Russia to rescue Chinooks in a daring operation, which they did, not breaking even a sweat, because a Chinook was just over half the maximum payload of this massive beast. This has left many American experts scratching their heads exactly how the Soviets came up with the world's largest helicopter, and what is the key secret behind the insane engineering of the Mi-26.
Nowadays, it can feel like everything in the government is up for sale. Everything from a
Yeah.
senator to the national parks could be bought if you have enough money. But is the U.S. Army actually selling rank to tech bros? Or is this a little bit more complicated than the news makes it seem? I'm Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran, and we're going to talk about how this tech bros becoming lieutenant colonels is actually more complicated, and frankly, quite a bit stupider than you realize. Let's get into it. Ever wonder why so many militaries have a cyber warfare branch? In fact, a lot of militaries have more hackers than they do jet pilots and snipers. The reason is obvious. Information on the internet is a gold mine. And that's true whether you're stealing an invasion plan or stealing an identity. Even a basic internet search reveals tons of information about you and your family. Names, addresses, phone numbers, emails, even property records. That all happens because of data brokers, companies that collect your data and sell it to the highest bidder. That can be robocallers, telemarketers, spammers, and even scammers. That's why I'm glad to partner with today's sponsor, Aura. Aura scans the web to identify which data brokers have your data for sale, and Aura automatically submits opt-out requests on your behalf. They'll even reduce junk mail and telemarketing calls so you don't have to deal with them. You can check out how many data brokers have your information using my link, aura.com/combat. Try it for free for 2 weeks and see just how much of your data is exposed out on the internet. The link is in the description, or you can scan the QR code on the screen. And Aura does more than just remove your information from data broker lists. It monitors your emails and passwords to see if they've been exposed in any hacks. And it alerts you if your information is found circulating the dark web. For example, Aura found some of my personal data had been exposed in the recent Meta and Google hacks, which means that if I wasn't careful, someone could have used that info against me. Beyond that, Aura is an all-in-one security solution. It's got a VPN, a password manager, real-time credit and identity theft monitoring, internet parental controls, even malware for your devices. It's a full internet suite in one easy-to-use app. Let Aura keep you and your personal data safe. Sign up today using my link and you'll get a free 2-week trial to see just how much of your information is exposed. Trust me, you'll be surprised. Go to aura.com/combat to start your free trial, or you can click the link below or scan the QR code. Okay, so this is the story. If you've been living under a rock, Palantir, Meta, OpenAI, and the company called Thinking Machines have all had high-level tech executives in these organizations commissioned directly to the rank of lieutenant colonel. Now, for those of you that don't know, a lieutenant colonel is usually the terminal rank for a military officer's career. And so the way it generally works is, again, for those of you that don't know the U.S. military, is that you attend a commissioning source. Almost always you have...
He's breathing. It was just too much for him, that's all.
I've been waiting for you. You're on the right one, that too. But more important, what you tell.
Well, you have
You're out of it.
that dog. Dog.
What was that? Talking dog. I reckon we've had enough. What? What's the matter?
Henry, that must be some kind of important message, you know? Dogs, they have special meaning for us.
What meaning?
No, they're not just animals. We treat like people, like you and me. Because of loyalty, they show master. Not like fucking lazy cats. If you're in trouble, they only watch. We bury dogs at the same graves as people. And some, they talk. That is big sign. True, I do not know what sign, but still, it is sign. After a big event like this, we must drink.
Ugh, that's damn strong. Oh, Christ.
Or is too strong.
Ugh, I'm shut. I've drunk worse. What?
Like what?
I'm the best marksman with a bow.
Wait now.
I'm the only one in this region. I mean, I can't hit. Come on, let's do it.
No! Your hands.
Above all, I dare say I'm smart.
Oh, Bosman.
One time, I even had a dispute with an inquisitor. I mean, if you could measure...
Thank God it can.
You should put me on a horse. You should,
No.
no. I could pick...
Wait! What?
I get angry.
Oh, Scott.
What did he say?
Yes.
Run.
You kill Ron?
No. I shot him in the eye with a crossbow bolt. To sum up, what did you say? You don't believe me.
Come.
Like hell.
You're ready.
Oh.
Really? Swift. Asmondia.
Oh. I'm the greatest!
Oh, Bosman.
Don't fall, you idiot! Who you call an idiot, you... Huh?
Be careful.
Jesus Christ!
Calm down.
And how the fuck am I supposed to say you? Oh, God! Bloody hell, I'm trying!
You are madman, Henry. Bolon.
Ballons!
Bottoms up.
To all the ballons and busty blondes. Oh, fuck. Being in the water seems to have sobered me up. Listen, how's life back in Hungary anyway?
Well, that depends on... Yoshok say it,
You're right.
but our home also. But our home flat. You ride days and...
Right,
Come with us.
I can.
When work finished.
To kiss,
Kish kun fella.
sure. What do you actually...
Well, I think he is a bucket.
Fuck.
Ball.
How did you fall in with the...
We go same way. Not like...
I used to cry.
Not...
Even here.
Yes, the kind of human but he...
Where are they?
You won't look for...
Oi,
Not good at...
don't worry.
Well, it is your life. Do what you want.
Let's get serious.
What about it?
Do not go back. That's all.
You threaten...
I warn you. If you show your faces there again...
All right. We have one more.
for?
Ugh,
No.
sacre, do you drink? And if nobody sees it but you, Baratok, you are always...
What fucking Baratok?
It's not far from Sege.
Urulok, Kolomeros.
Henry, Besilega near.
Meet Munda. Tebes. Tebes says Jehu. Tebes.
No argue. Levita incab me.
Got it. Okay.
Semit-Lados.
Completed a bachelor's degree, and then the U.S. military commissions you, and you can enter active duty as a lieutenant, or you can enter the reserve component, the National Guard. But you spend your time in those services, and every so often, at set periods, you get reviewed for promotability. And if the military decides that you meet the cut, they'll promote you to the next rank. And that happens at the usually around 4-year mark. You go from lieutenant to captain. You also get bumped from first to
Isn't it
second
a
lieutenant
sin
at
to
18
walk around
months.
naked like that?
The big rank jump is at 4 years.
heard
when
you could
get
teach-
bumped
But a few
to
groschen.
captain
What
from
is this
first
about?
lieutenant. And then when you are around 8 years of service or so,
Swordsmanship,
you get
heavy
another
weapons, and
bump,
pole arms.
to major, right? And then from there, around I'd say the 15th year of service, depending on your branch, you will get looked at to see if you're eligible to promote to lieutenant colonel. And usually, a typical Army career will end at lieutenant colonel, since most officers retire at 20 years old. And of course, those that stay in longer are eligible to promote to higher ranks like colonel, 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, 4-star general, etc. But the Army, so it seems pretty, corrupt on its surface to say, listen, you spent your entire career at a company like Meta doing tech stuff, and then you get to skip basic training and literally 2 decades of military service and drop right into lieutenant colonel. Because ostensibly they're going to help, quote, modernize the military, part of a broader push by the Army to bring private sector innovation and reshape how the service approaches technology. They're going to serve in a unique unit called Detachment 201, and this includes, of course, the Chief Technology Officer of Meta, the Chief Technology Officer of OpenAI, Chief of Product at OpenAI, and an advisor at Thinking Machines Lab, a guy named Bob McGrew, all of which are going to serve in a Unit 201, also known as the Army's Executive Innovation Corps. Now, the Army says, quote, Detachment 201 is being created to bring tech innovation executives to help the Army on broader conceptual things like talent management. How do we bring in tech-focused people into the ranks of the military, and then how do we train them? Now, these recruits are going to get to bypass boot camp. Instead, they're going to go through an express training program that covers marksmanship, physical fitness, Army history, and protocols, and they'll be expected to serve about 120 hours, that's about 3 working weeks per year, and pass the annual Army physical fitness test, right? They also say this is a pilot, a lighter version of basic training. Now, here's my hot take. One, the Army is thinking the right way about this. Why? Because you notice that system I described to you of promotions that happen on fixed timelines. Well, what that means is that what never happens in the Army is any external agency comes in, right? No one ever gets brought into the Army from external places. But you have to think for a minute. That doesn't happen at any of the best companies in the world. And so, remember, if you went back in time to the year 2001, right, the U.S. Army was just beginning its combat in Iraq and Afghanistan, while Google was just starting to get run up as a new search engine. And in those 25 years, the U.S. Army lost 2 wars, and again, I say this as someone who fought in one of them, while Google became the most valuable human private enterprise ever to exist. And so I draw that contrast because you would think that people at Google, like the Army would have some mechanism for mid-career people at Google to come over to the Army, or for people to leave the Army and go back. If you look at the careers of Google executives, there are probably fewer that have, almost every one of them probably has gone to another company or come from another company, and what they do is they bring in from those companies the best practices. And when they leave Google, they go to other companies and implement some of those best practices. And so what you get is an evolution, a cross-pollination of ideas about how organizations can run and be effective. The problem is the U.S. Army, you can only enter at the bottom, and once you leave for good. And so, what you end up with is an organization that is so resistant to change, it effectively is the idea version of being constantly inbred. The same people, remember, receiving the same training, the same experiences, with the same gear, they're going to think the same way, right? Imagine how much innovation, for example, Amazon got, right? Remember, Amazon used to deliver a whole lot of books, and then one day they said, we could build this thing called Amazon Web Services. Well, what they almost certainly did is went to other companies that built cloud infrastructure and found their talent and said, come to Amazon. and help us build the same thing.
I'm looking for this
right?
friend
The
of
U.S.
mine.
Army had, in 20
you
years,
know what?
never did that.
That's
Never did they go to any
What's
other
life
place
lot
in the
free?
U.S.
You-
economy or anywhere else in the United States and say, you guys are doing something better than us. Why don't you teach us how it's done? Right? And so the fact that they're at least trying this is awesome. And a lot of people are saying, oh, well, this light version of basic training, they're skipping the most important part. They're not getting instilled with Army culture and values. But here's the problem. The U.S. Army has already been doing this for decades, right? In fact, going back to World War II, there was a direct commission process in which individuals with sufficient specialty expertise in specialty roles would get directly commissioned to a career-appropriate rank so that they could serve. And in World War II, this happened about 16,000 times. And 3/4 of that number were either clergy. So, for example, you would find a chaplain, a Catholic priest, right? They say, listen, there's a lot of Catholic soldiers. We need more priests. You're a mid-career priest. Why don't we bring you in at whatever rank you need to be to make sure you don't lose your livelihood, and you can administer to the troops who are forward deployed and get the protections afforded to a soldier, right? And critically, medical personnel, right? Again, imagine you're a highly skilled surgeon, right? You're not going to enter as a lieutenant making the equivalent of $43,000 a year, right? So these branches were authorized to promote chaplains, mental, medical, veterinary, and at the time was seen as a sanitary corps. Think of them as public health physicians. Could literally directly commission them up to colonel. You also saw this in World War II for the judge advocate generals, right? For example, let's say you needed to have more judges to hold trials for this much larger World War II military. Well, you could hire, an experienced county judge and say, we'll bring you on as a colonel or as a major to make sure that you
That could've gone better.
rank commensurate with the role you're going to be doing.
Oh,
We also saw
yeah.
this in the military intelligence field, which is probably the closest analogy to what we have here, right? Individuals who are highly skilled at highly technical work. For example, someone skilled at taking and interpreting high-resolution photographs from aerial reconnaissance or operations research was most famous. Those highly skilled individuals might get poached from academia and given direct commission so that they could serve. So this is something that has existed in tradition, and it continues to exist today. In fact, when I was in the Army Reserve, one of the soldiers that served with me was a trauma surgeon, an ER surgeon who saw acute trauma patients in a major urban area, actually in Dallas, Texas. And the reason that he was actually put on orders very frequently by people like the U.S. Navy SEALs. Not because he could kick down doors or threw grenades better than anyone else. It's because he, as a trauma surgeon in a major urban area, saw stabbings, shootings, explosions, car accidents, multiple times a day, every single day. If you are a Navy SEAL or Delta Force operator, that is the man who you want looking at you when you take a gunshot wound from an insurgent. So, in order to make sure, right, so how did he come into the Army Reserve? Well, the answer is literally the experience that mattered for him was what he did every single day in that ER. And so, to bring him on board, right, as a physician, he had to attend a basic Army leadership, basic officer leadership course, which for a reservist is literally just 2 weeks long in Fort Sam Houston, Texas. There's also a digital component, so literally you will listen to some online lectures and take some online tests and maybe submit some written work about Army rank structure, Army culture, wear and appearance of the uniform. But the fact is that you spend 2 weeks getting a sort of orientation course to Army stuff, and then you are out treating patients, treating soldiers who need those skills so badly. So, it sounds like you're saying, Paul, having these tech bros in the Army sounds like a great idea. This is a chance to bring innovation. And the idea of bringing in tech bros to the Army at middle and upper career ranks to infuse a fresh pivot to the culture is a good idea. But there's a small problem that's actually a pretty big problem. And that is the conflict of interest. And that's probably one of the, I'm going to say, the toughest issues that they are facing, right? And so here's the number one problem. The U.S. Army Reserve has what's actually it's been identified as a problem because, again, and when I was in the reserves, I was in the D.C. area. So a ton of officers in my unit had roles elsewhere in the federal
I
government
didn't save.
and elsewhere in the Pentagon. And what that meant was that they had to be extremely careful, and not even they, but their commanders had to be extremely careful about what's called conflict of interest. Because imagine if you work for, let's say, a consulting company, and that consulting company is bidding for a contract with the U.S. Army Reserve to say, provide them with a bunch of new computers, right? Well, let's say you work for that company on the civilian side, and then one weekend a month, 2 weeks a year, you are on the other side of that contract, right? You could be reviewing that contract for your own employer. And obviously, when you're talking about a mid-level officer who's been in the Army Reserve for 10 or 15 years, the odds, and you're talking about a massive 2 million person organization, the chances are actually not that great that you're going to have that overlap. And it's pretty easy for someone to say, hey, don't you work for McKinsey? Okay, well, this contract actually has McKinsey bidding on it. So you have to make sure you have to set this one out, and let me email one of 15 other reserve officers who can be contracting officers who can step in and review this contract in an objective way. Because remember, even if that officer says, no, I can put work aside. I can put my biases aside and review this contract fairly. The problem is, whoever loses that contract, they could sue. And at the very least, they could tie up the implementation of that contract for years. While they say, listen, the U.S. Army, they were biased. See, they literally had a McKinsey employee reviewing the contract. And now you have to prove in court that you weren't biased. So the Army says, even the perception of unfairness, we have to get it out of contracts. And when you're talking, again, about a million-person organization with a bazillion contracting officers, it's not that hard. The issue comes is in the specific mission of Detachment 201. Because 201's job is to implement new systems into the military and to leverage their expertise in these major roles, right, who are almost certainly going to be bidding for AI contracts. The problem is, what can they do? What could this Meta executive, this OpenAI executive, or Palantir executive, what could they do if they're told, listen, we want you to bring your expertise in high-tech systems. Figure out how we're going to implement new high-tech systems into the Army. Oh, by the way, though, you can't have any involvement in actually the contracting part. So the part where you bring those systems into the Army, right? Because they can sit there and say, you guys should have more AI, but that's not a contract. A contract's going to say, we want an AI system that handles personnel management and assignments and staffing, right? Well, how do you write that? They want these executives to know what the technology is capable of. What can AI do for us? But that is the same thing as saying, what can your company do for us? Tell us, and we will write the contract. Do you see how the expertise they want is the same thing as a conflict of interest? And the hard part is that this is so niche. This is a tiny field with a tiny number of competitors. That is the problem, is that you can't sit there and say, well, basically, think about it. If the Army was to have a large language model contract out for bidding, we all know who would bid on it, right? And are you going to implement a language model that is sufficient, right? No, of course not. Like, you're going to need a Meta-sized company that can do the data security, that can host the model, right? That can handle all the infrastructure needs. So who's going to bid on it? Well, it's going to be any AI contract that the government wants to roll out. It's basically going to be OpenAI. It's going to be Palantir. It's going to be Meta. It's going to be Google. And that's it. Those are like the 4 or 5. Maybe there'll be one other 5th AI company. Well, that's the only places. There's senior executives. There's only a few senior executives that can do this. So the pool is just too small to do this fairly. And so what you're going to have, I think, is unhelpful stuff. That's one of the reasons why contractors are so favored by the Army. And the reason they love this is because you can sit there and go, listen, McKinsey, listen, OpenAI, we want you to give us a big old report about what the Army can do, or what we can do to implement AI, and then we will have our colonels who are active duty, who only work for us, review it. And it's not perfect, because as you know, I'm sure if you had OpenAI do it, they would sit there and go, well, we can, AI can do a ton of things, and here's all the things it can do. Oh, by the way, this list of things that we think it should do for you, they happen to be the exact capabilities of OpenAI, FYI, right? That happens all the time, and that's part of the corruption. But do you see how the system is so interwoven that it's really hard to extract corruption from the bidding process, from the contracting process? And this isn't helping that. This is making things worse. And so again, the controversy here isn't about rank buying. That is the least problematic part of this, right? The problematic part is the foxes are being brought into the henhouse and put in charge of egg distribution. And so, again, I hate being somebody who has complaints but doesn't have solutions. I think the solution is to go back in time 20 years and have a really good pipeline for people to sit there and go, hey, I am 32 years old. Maybe I served in the Army in my youth, and now I'm a mid-career executive at Amazon. And I know things about running a logistics system that would blow the Army's mind. And the Army might say, listen, why don't you come back on board for 3 years? Why don't you move over, right? Leave your job at Amazon. We will bump you up to major, or bump you up to lieutenant colonel, right? Keep your pay commensurate, and say, listen, spend 3 years helping the U.S. Army build our version of Amazon's super effective logistics system. And then, after 3 years, the Army goes, thanks so much. You were a great employee. We'd love to have you back, but you go, you know what? I'm going to go to another company. I'm going to go to a startup for a couple of years. And then you go, okay, well, I've been at this startup, and maybe I'll go back to the military, the Pentagon, to end my career. Or maybe I will go back to Amazon, right? That's what a normal career looks like. But somehow, the Army was like, well, we want to just siphon, we want to blockade ourselves off from getting any of those fresh ideas, that new talent. So, I think they should have created this system way earlier. And that way, you're going to have more expertise already in the Army at any one time. You're going to have more people able to talk the talk, instead of what you have now, which is a bunch of generals who have literally spent 35 years doing one thing, which is learning how to make tank roll good, right? And suddenly, they're turning around and they're saying, we need to figure out how to make an AI-powered drone swarm. And they're like, most of these generals, they stopped learning new things when it was like how to field a battalion of tanks, how to field a brigade of tanks, right? Especially in the global war on terror. Look at the famous General McChrystal. His vision was so small that he would go out on individual raids with Special Operations Command. And don't get me wrong, that's cool. I'm sure for someone it felt awesome to get on the ground, nitty-gritty with the troops. But is that what you want your visionary general to do? Is that what you want the man who's going to steer the entire war towards victory? Is that a productive use of their time? Again, that's like a CEO every single day sweeping the floor of his offices. Like, at some point, dude, you have a company to run. Anyway, that's all I have. Thank you guys so much. Hit that subscribe button, as always. Thanks to James J21, Yanko Georgiev, Chris Gorsuch, Paul Templeton, Centronic, Steve Moran, TR Need, Alan Liston, and CM Holmes, all of our Lieutenant Tier members, and, of course, today's sponsor, Aura. Couldn't do it without you guys. See you in the next one. Cheers.
Be a new bill called Make American Elections Great Again. I love it. Forcing the U.S. Census Bureau to redo the census to actually get an account of how many Americans with proof of citizenship are in our area, in our country, redistricting some of the House districts. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I'll speak for both of us. We love it. You're going to like this one. I know all about it. We want to bring our elections back.
the election in 2020 was rigged, millions and millions of votes. It had to do with COVID and a lot of things, but it really had to do with the crooked people. The Democrats are very good at cheating an election. The Biden census gypped Florida of at least one seat. We only got one seat in the last census. Are you trying to tell me that Florida only had one seat in that? We should have had at least two. Texas should have had another one. That could be the difference in the House of Representatives and the majority. So you're in for an off ticket, you piece of shit.
You're no match for me.
Sweet.
Dead. And robbed of everything, just like Capon left him. And there's no trace of mud. A nice bit of venison. And something took a good bite of it. Could Mutt have been here? Mutt's nowhere around. Someone... taking him in. It's not far to the herb woman's place. Maybe I should ask her whether she's seen him.
You're welcome.
So I would love for them to redo the census for 26. My legislature will redistrict those lines.
Welcome back, Defenders. Today we're
Here's
going
your
to start here.
scrolls.
Russia moves to limit exemptions for military conscripts. For some reason, Russia needs more soldiers. Russia's government is seeking to reduce the number of draft-age men who can receive exemptions from mandatory military service. How this works in Russia is all Russian men are eligible for conscription. They then go into the military for a single year, and they're not supposed to be used in Ukraine. Putin still is trying to avoid using conscripts in the war zone. But once this year is up, all of these conscripts are basically forced or pressured into signing contracts. As soon as they sign a contract, it's for 3 years maybe, but they can then be sent to Ukraine. So now that we're on year 3.5 of this war, how many conscripts have been brought into the Russian military? They did their single year. They were then pressured or forced to sign a contract, and they're now in Ukraine. This is why Russia is moving to remove more exemptions to get more men into the war zone a year from now. And this was a really interesting post I saw on Twitter. Russian soldiers have now been serving for a longer time than any involuntarily mobilized Russian or Soviet troop since 1888, during the Tsarist period 140 years ago. Not surprisingly, many Russian soldiers are complaining they're now slaves. This post was from the Russian Telegram channel Shelter Number 8. This is a Russian soldier, and he says he joined the army in 2021. He's now been serving for 3 years and 9 months, approaching a new record of involuntary servitude since the Tsars. Here's a breakdown of what mandatory military service in the infantry was like between 1881 and 1888, 5 years. Between 1888 and 1906, 4 years. This soldier is complaining that he's now at 3 years and 9 months. During World War II, the Soviet Union, serving mandatory in the infantry was 3 years and then 2 years. Prior to the war in Ukraine, Russian contract soldiers served for a maximum of 3 years before given the choice of getting out. And right now, nobody is getting out. Putin is using stop-loss to keep in service everyone that the Russian military thinks they still need. So very few Russian soldiers are getting out unless they're dead, or they've had a leg or an arm blown off. But we're now on the clock. As we approach the full 4-year mark of this war, going into 4.5, going into 5, and Putin is not letting any of these Russian soldiers go. On top of that, there's talks about eliminating bonuses, reducing salary, trying to save money to make this war go even longer, to force these Russian men who don't want to be on the front lines anymore. For the guys who were mobilized in September of 2022, they didn't sign up. They were told they had to go. And Putin is even discussing additional mobilizations of men who don't want to be serving in the military. They don't want to go to Ukraine. They don't want to fight. They don't want to die. And this war continues to drag on for years and years and years. And this is a demographic nightmare for the Russian population. Financial insecurity is Russians' top reason not to start a family. Among the 1,200 respondents between the ages of 18 and 49, 79% said they chose financial circumstances as a deterrent to having more children. Half said their income or their partners was just too low to support a family. Even though there's a labor shortage and wages in Russia are going up, they're not going up faster than inflation. The cost of housing, the cost of food, the cost of whatever. When people don't feel like they can financially support children, they choose not to have children. On top of millions of young Russians fleeing the country to avoid participating in the war, Russia demographically is screwed in the long term. So Russia has begun classifying their population data as the birth rate plunges to a new 200-year low. I know demographically things are bad for Ukraine as well.
Remember her?
But Ukraine has allies.
Healing you two.
I remember.
She's missing. It's not like her to be wandering around like that. She goes to Troskovitz to sell baskets. But these old eyes of mine can't see nothing much. I'm very worried about her. What if something's happened to her? I know I'm asking a lot of you, but I've no one else to turn to.
Do you think anyone...
These are evil times. Besides, the folk in Troskovitz ain't too fond of us.
What of the Troskovitz?
I'd rather not talk.
But what of her disappearance?
Well, we haven't always
Right.
left. A childbirth went awry.
Went awry.
I don't want to talk about it.
Where exactly was...
To Troskovitz. She sells them there. Sometimes it takes her a while. I have a bad feeling about...
did it occur? She's a young girl.
You don't know, Pavlina. If she wanted to live a little, don't imagine or that I don't know what it means to be young.
Pavlina is young.
She is. Not, but her mother died in
And who was Pavlina's birth mother?
a girl from the charcoal burners. They left the county, and I think...
And
I don't know who he...
well, as a midwife,
All too often, lad.
no, it's not.
See then? Now,
All right, good wife.
thank you, Henry.
All right.
And maybe you could look in her room in the loft. My...
So, Pavlina, what have you left for me? Like she got up and went straight out. Clothes. If she planned to run away, she'd have taken them with her. She's got unfinished work here. Hey, this is a boy's cap. Does Pavlina wear it? Or did someone leave it here? Bloody hell. Shit. Damnation. I had a look in Pavlina's place in the loft.
And?
I found a cap there.
You're saying she had some... I'd surely have noticed.
I don't know, good wife.
Could she have found herself a...
She didn't pack up her stuff.
I told you, didn't I?
She's got a...
Aye, she usually has a few on the go. We've got nothing here, but Pavlina weaves...
I'm looking for Marika.
I do, but...
She's lost.
Henry,
Why?
Marika was here with her lover. But he was...
What?
Aye, with Bohush from Sami. Poor girl. She was terribly afraid of something. I bet I went to pick some herbs.
Do you know...
Everyone, as far as I...
How come?
Most didn't approve of her relationship.
Do you know what happened?
Sadly, I don't.
Do you have any idea where the...
Marika told me a few times about a cave chamber
in Apollonia.
At least you can see.
Do you know where?
I do. The entrance should be somewhere on the right side of the valley. There should be. I remember that. Because.
Thank you.
Well.
All right. Have you seen a stray?
I'm sorry.
Sucker.
If I were a dog, I'd go to where there's food.
Do you think he'd go?
I don't know much. You wouldn't be the first, or maybe your dog's gone feral. It was good to see you, my friend.
God, what happened to you? I got a bit of a scratch somewhere. It's nothing.
Ukraine has a future integrated into the European Union and NATO. Nobody is offering that to the Russians. So Russia is not doing census data anymore. They're just not counting how many babies are born because they don't want anyone to know. On top of this, Putin shuts curtain on Russia's reality. New law bans disclosure of war and economic data. From economic figures to mobilization plans, Russia seals off knowledge as external pressure mounts. So in 2022 and 2023, when the price of oil was high, I'm sorry, but Russia did make money. They were positive in 2022 because of oil prices. But now that things are economically becoming disastrous for the Russian economy, they're just not going to report stuff. They're just not going to record stuff. They don't want anyone knowing economically how bad things are getting in Russia. So let's get to Russia's big summer offensive. Ukrainian forces push Russian army away from Sumy. Momentum is slipping. Russia's summer offensive is losing steam despite record attacks. The Russians are still attacking every single day. They usually send small waves of 6 to 12 men to assault a dugout or a position. As soon as they fail, they send the next 6 or 12. As soon as they fail, they send the next 6 or 12. The goal of these Russian meat wave attacks is to have a dugout or a defensive location run out of ammunition. Russia's on-the-ground strategy to advance is to send more men than Ukrainians have bullets. Yes, you can take a dugout, you can take a small village, but this is horrendous for your casualty numbers. And concerning Russia's big summer offensive, we've been hearing reports for 6 months. 50,000 troops massed on the border in Sumy. 80,000 troops massed on the border in Sumy. 120,000 Russian troops massed on the border in Sumy. And here it is. They've gone 3 kilometers. This is what Russia saved up 6 months of resources to accomplish. The fear was, if the Russians could reach this bend in the highway, they would then be in artillery and FPV range of the city of Sumy. This is a relatively large city. But Ukraine's already counterattacking and pushing them back. They retook some positions here. And this isn't going anywhere, guys. Let me remind you of Russia's big summer offensive for 2024. People have completely forgotten this, but this was the Russians trying to take the city of Volchansk. All they did was level and destroy it, but they don't even have full control of the north bank of the river running through this tiny town. This is pathetic. We can zoom into the Donbass region, and I can show you Chasiv Yar. The Russians took Bakhmut almost 3 years ago, and they still do not have full control of Chasiv Yar. They still do not have full control of Toretsk. They still are nowhere near getting close to taking the city of Pokrovsk. For people who support Russia, I don't get it. This is pathetic. I'm not taking anything away from the bravery and heroic sacrifices of Ukrainian defenders holding this territory. But Russia is not making progress. Nothing of significance. More than 20,000 cases of Russian soldiers going AWOL. This is according to reports. And I'll link this video down below. This just shows the bodies.
All right.
This is in the Sumy direction. And the Russian military doesn't even clear them. They send these meat wave attacks, and these corpses just rot in the fields for months. Nobody's bothering to even go pick them up. When the next Russian wave attacks, they have to go over the bodies of their dead fallen comrades. So this is why Russia is trying to conduct a parallel war to the ground war. They can't make progress on the ground, so they're going all in on these drone and missile attacks every single night. Russian overnight drone swarms never end. Ukraine deals with fires, destruction, and injured civilians. At least 6 killed, 26 injured in Russian attacks across Ukraine over the past day. Russia is continuing to adapt. They're trying to make their airstrikes with these drones and missiles more deadly. Russia's Shahed drones now have bulletproof engines and a bag of dirty tricks. Ukraine used to shoot them down. Now they fly in pairs, drop bombs on the way, and keep coming. Russia is adapting. They're coming up with new techniques and tactics to have more success striking with these drones. But every time you adapt, such as making the engine bulletproof, it comes with a cost. These drones, adding jet engines, making them bulletproof, costs more money. So this single night attack from 3 nights ago, this was the largest ever, 530 some missiles and drones. What was the economic cost? What did Russia pay to pull this off? And the estimates are $491 million. That is $500 million to blow up some coffee shops, to blow up churches, universities, schools. I don't know what the value of all of these civilian targets is, but I don't think it's $500 million. Putin could be spending $500 million in Russia, building hospitals, schools, universities, airports, infrastructure to support a growing Russian economy.
Done.
But he's choosing not to. He's choosing to waste this money, waste this resource, when it contributes nothing to Russia's future. Ukrainian interceptor drone reaches 11 kilometers altitude to target high-flying Russian UAVs. So these Russian Shahed drones used to fly very low to avoid being detected. That made them vulnerable to just gunfire. So these Russian Shahed drones are now flying higher. Yes, they can be spotted and tracked more easily, but they can't be shot down easily from the ground. So Ukraine has to come up with a solution to these high-altitude attack drones, and what Ukraine needs is a high-altitude interceptor drone. This is what Ukraine is desperately trying to mass-produce at the moment. Ukrainian drones that can just go up into the sky. As soon as we have the tracking data where a Russian Shahed drone is coming from, that drone then just takes off, goes in that direction, goes in for the intercept. This is doable, and it's currently being worked on.
Unnecessary.
Ukraine just declared open season on Russia's drone nests, an urgent strategy shift. Ukraine isn't just shooting down drones anymore, it's going after the operators. Under new leadership, drone crews are now the priority targets. Because this is Russia's new strategy, launching 500, 600, 700 of these drones in a single night, Ukraine has to adapt. They have to start going after these Russian drone launching crews.
Right.
Somewhere inside of Russia, there are trained crews amassing at least dozens of these drones in a single location to launch them one at a time. Ukraine needs to obtain the intelligence where these crews are launching or where they're going to go, and then strike them before all these drones can take off. This is not going to be easy. It's a good idea, but this is the direction that Ukraine is going in. Find the drone launchers and then target them when they're in the middle of launching all of these drones. Additional adaptations, I want to share this video. This is a relatively cheap unmanned cargo robot that's being used to transport supplies, ammunition, and troops to and from the front lines. It's just simply too dangerous to take like a pickup truck or even an MM-114 armored vehicle. This is the game that both Russia and Ukraine are playing. Anytime you see a supply truck, blow it up. So Ukraine is trying to lower the per unit cost of these supply vehicles because they are going to continue being hit. This is how soldiers get food, water, ammunition, and rotate out wounded. Russia's using donkeys, but Ukraine is trying to mass produce these relatively cheap cargo robots. These robots can then go back and forth, and if Russia blows one up, hopefully nobody was killed or injured. This is what Ukraine's objective is for getting rotations on the front lines. Let's now get to the diplomacy. After months of stalling, Russia blames Ukraine and the United States for the slow pace of peace talks. Russia cannot continue to stall for time while bombing Ukrainian civilians. This is according to Keith Kellogg. This is not common for Keith Kellogg to assert himself. He's been pretty quiet and mute the last 6 months. He doesn't say anything without Trump's permission. But on social media, this is what he said. Peskov's recent comments on the state of negotiations are Orwellian. Russia claims that it is the United States and Ukraine stalling the peace talks. These are unfounded. President Trump has been consistent and adamant about making progress to end the war. We urge an immediate ceasefire and a move to trilateral talks to end the war. Russia cannot continue to stall for time while it bombs civilian targets in Ukraine. Whatever the Russians are doing, they're just going to accuse the other side of doing as well. So no, Ukraine and the United States are not stalling peace talks. It's the Russians, but they're going to say this because they lie about everything. Here is President Zelensky's response to Peskov. Putin has already stolen practically half a year from diplomacy. Another half a year, on top of the entire duration of this war. Russia is not changing its plans and is not looking for a way out of this war. On the contrary, they are preparing new operations, including on the territory of European countries. That's their principle. The Russians look for where to exploit a weakness. Most of Russia's plans are pretty delusional. Their plans to invade the Baltics, their plans to potentially invade Finland, like they're building up resources and troops on the border with the Baltics and Finland. But realistically, they're not going to make a move until they take Ukraine first. That is why Ukraine has to hold. But the better option is just to defeat Russia, give Ukraine all the resources they need to end this war as fast as possible. The Russians are not looking to negotiate. They're not looking for a ceasefire. The Russians don't want peace. They want their empire back. So in my last video, we talked about the bill in Congress by Senator Lindsey Graham. It's going to be voted on after the July 4th holiday weekend. And then people in the comments section were saying that Trump has lifted sanctions on Russia. So the Trump administration is refuting this. Trump quietly extends Biden-era sanctions targeting Russian banks and their energy sector. No sanctions involving Russia have been lifted by the Trump administration, full stop. This was a senior U.S. official in a key post interview. So what was this? Not a sanction. U.S. lifts Russian sanctions that hindered expansion of a Hungarian nuclear power plant. So Donald Trump and Viktor Orban are friends, and I'm sure Viktor Orban asked for this personal favor. And it's not really lifting a sanction, it's extending a license. The U.S. has not lifted any sanctions on Russian banks. Two current and former officials told this reporter. The U.S. Treasury last week extended a general license that was previously in place and doesn't allow for the sale of any assets to be sold. So what is going on here? And this is a Hungarian nuclear power plant that is partnered with a Russian company to expand their operations. They need this license to be extended in order to continue making payments on the construction project in Hungary. Biden in November of 2024 put new sanctions on Russia that kind of made this unclear if it was still capable for Hungary to continue this project. Trump just extended the license. It's not really lifting sanctions on the entire bank's operations. It's only specific to this power plant. I don't think this is a big deal, and if Hungary, for some reason, can produce more nuclear power on their own, then they don't need Russian gas and oil. So I actually view this as a positive if Hungary can increase their nuclear capabilities domestically. Let's cover some other headlines. These are the general bad news for Russia. Almost every night, Ukraine is also launching drones against Russian targets inside of Russia. We're just not getting any good pictures, videos, or reports because any Russian who reports or shares pictures or videos risks going to jail. Going forward in the future, I just don't think we're going to get a lot of good information coming out of Russia, but Ukraine hits
My
Russian
dog got
military
lost.
train
I
just
haven't
days
seen any
after the.
dogs round here for a while. Just the other day, a shepherd boy from Kopanina complained that his sheep were being eaten.
Where can I find this shepherd?
Siegfried, he has... Here, in the tavern, he said once he was...
Do you know where that was? Excuse me.
Let me guess. A dirty...
He was here then?
Aye, he was.
What do you mean by that?
Because they're right still...
What's going on around?
He's got a... I hope he hasn't started. One more thing. You're not going to believe this, but two...
You have a water god.
It would be a wonder if we didn't. If you follow...
Where did you say?
If you follow...
And what did they find there?
I but then
Would you happen to...
they off...
Any other news?
Recent, I started talking.
Why?
They set up a pack of...
Aren't wolves afraid?
That's what...
Did they tell you?
In a gore, if you climb...
Did they tell...
They mentioned...
Do you have any...
By the way...
That sounds good.
It actually can be another. By the way, if you go and see him, I'm sure he takes a bit...
Oh?
You'll see, and that's...
Thanks, Inky. Tell me more about...
Our first night event, and...
I'd like to try...
Why not? If you don't, maybe...
Fine. Show me your...
Silver Warlord, Tin Head Start. I have neither of those.
Talk about the price.
Sure.
How's this?
We're getting close. Finally. I hope you'll be satisfied. Take care. God bless.
Same to you.
Here you have it. Enjoy.
What did you get yourself into now? Go and see the surgeon before you bleed to death. God bless. Would you like to throw some dice? What game would you like to... Masters, let's... God bless. God be with you.
Today's my lucky day. I can feel it in my bones. Royal Kuttenberg Treasury, the finest of our cities. And oh, the lovely waiters there. How I'd love to stroke their titties. Stop that! You're interrupting my train of thought. The man is well aware of the silver in the rock.
Are you all right? You look like someone gave you a thrashing.
The little wives of Kuttenberg, they love the king of coin, their sharps are damp, and wealthy. That's enough. Your turn. One beer coming right up. Will you? Well, we ain't in the bird yet. If we don't do something about it soon, we'll never grant you enough.
I wish you were present today.
Royal Kuttenberg Treasury.
Are you all right? You look like someone gave you a thrashing.
How I'd love to stroke their titties. Hey, stop that! Where's that beer? My train of thought. The man is well aware of the silver in the rock. They spend their wages at the
These
bar.
ones
What's their cost? The little wives of Kuttenberg, they love the chink of coin. Their sharps are damp, and wealthy blokes they welcome in their pine. You're loving that, but you won't get it. Will you? Well, we ain't in the bird yet. If we don't do something about it soon, we'll never be. Damn! What's this?
Are you all right? You look like someone gave you a thrashing.
First sabotage. This was in Zaporizhia. There's a video, and what Ukraine has been doing is they somehow blow up the track. The train then notices that the track is broken. The train has to stop. Once the train stops, Ukraine then hits it with FPV drones. So this rail line, I think Russian logistics are weakest right here near Tokmak. Now Russia should be able to use the Crimean Bridge, but I don't think the rail line was ever properly fixed from the attack 2.5 years ago. So Russia wants to be using this rail line going through Zaporizhia. But this rail line comes really close to Ukrainian positions. This is 26 kilometers. So if Ukraine can know when the train schedule is, when fuel cars or whatever is coming through, they can blow up the track. The train then has to stop. They can then launch either fiber optic FPVs, or if there's no electronic warfare jamming, they can launch regular radio FPVs. It's a winning strategy, and Ukraine should be doing this every week. Do not let the Russians use this single rail line to resupply their forces in Kherson and Crimea. Russia's 10th 60th Logistics Center erupts in fire after Ukraine's defense intelligence operation. Things go boom. It happens a lot in Russia. Russian logistics hub burning in occupied Luhansk amid reports of a drone attack. This was a oil depot that services the Russian military. Ukraine, I think, blew it up again. This is located in Luhansk. Very satisfying footage of a strike in Donetsk. This was the headquarters for the Russian 8th Combined Arms Army. Ukraine blew up the building with a drone. Heavy explosions coming from the Kupol plant in Izhevsk, Russia. This was actually caught on video. You can see the drone flying in and then hitting the factory. Now the factory is already on fire, so that means that Ukraine sends several drones, at least 2, to strike this plant, but this was a successful strike. Ukrainian forces capture 2 Cameroonians who say Russia tricked them into fighting. They signed for a salary of 1 million rubles, which is only like 1,000 US dollars. But these 2 men from Cameroon were told they would be in supports. They would like dig trenches behind the front lines. But then they were immediately sent to a trench on the front line. They didn't want to die, so they found Ukrainian forces and they chose to surrender. This is where Cameroon is located. It's in sub-Saharan Africa, and Russia's never going to stop trying to trick these people into going to the war to fight for them. They gave an interview. I'll link it down below. They didn't say anything special. These men might be victims. They might have been fooled, or maybe they knew exactly what they were doing, and they're just lying to the Ukrainians after surrendering. Either way, they're off the battlefields, and this is a warning for anyone else in sub-Saharan Africa. You can't trust the Russians. They're going to lie to you and get you killed. Major Kuzbass coal mine halts operations, leaving hundreds without pay.
You don't look too good.
We're going to see a lot more headlines like this. Companies in Russia are not operating at a profit. And if you're not operating at a profit, and there's no loans you can take out, no way to balance the books, then you're just going to stop paying your employees. This is a video of Russian coal miners complaining that they haven't been paid in months, and they don't know what to do. They're asking the Putin Tsar for help. It's going to keep happening, Russians. This is a crazy story, but Kadyrov's son, Adam, he's only 17 years old. He got married this weekend. I don't think it's legal in Russia to marry under the age of 18, but nobody cares. And I think Ramzan Kadyrov is dying. There's been reports of his failing health the last 3 years. He potentially has renal failure. There's something wrong with his kidneys. So Putin is trying to accelerate the line of succession. They want the Kadyrov clan to remain in control of Chechnya, to control Chechnya. So Putin met with Adam, once again to show his blessing that a 17-year-old can take control of this territory. And this is a picture from Adam's wedding. And I want to mention this watch that Adam is wearing. This is the Jacob & Company Billionaire Ashoka watch. This is how many diamonds are in the watch. And this watch cost $18 million. A 17-year-old who is about to take control of a province in Russia, with Putin's blessing, is wearing an $18 million watch, while Russian coal miners are not being paid. The civil unrest in Russia is coming. We just have to wait for it. It's building, guys. So what are they talking about on Kremlin State TV? If they're not talking about their failed summer offensive, if they're not talking about their failing economy, what do they talk about on Kremlin State TV? And I'm going to share with you this clip. This is pretty weird.
Штахель Швайн, стальной дикобраз. На днях 4 месяца, как главная евробюрократка Урсула фон дер Ляйен, распираемая весенним обострением, предложила утыкать Украину шипами такого количества и качества, чтобы никто не переварил. Что по факту? Питается скотинка в долг. Но новость не в этом. Пайка усохнет. Да и тренд, кажется, уже не шипы. Лизать. Вот это тренд. Павел Краснов пояснит.
AI-generated steel porcupine pigs to represent Ukraine. I don't know, guys. I don't know. Moscow and Baku rift escalates as Azov police raid Russian media office. The editor and director of Sputnik Azerbaijan were detained in a police raid because they're Russian spies. This doesn't have to be suspected. Anybody with diplomatic or journalist credentials in any other country, they all work for the FSB. There are no credible diplomats, there are no independent journalists who work for the Kremlin. So this is satisfying to see. I don't know specifically what these 2 men are accused of doing, but obviously they're Russian spies, and Azerbaijani police took them into custody. They might hold them for a little bit, but eventually they'll be sent back to Russia. Azerbaijan has a complicated relationship with Russia. It is a former member of the Soviet Union, but they're Islamic and they have closer ties to Turkey now. And Russia shot down one of their passenger planes 6 months ago, so relations are not good. Let's get to the good news for Ukraine. Germany pledges $2 billion for air defense, says peace will come when aggression is stopped. Thank you so much, the fantastic people of Germany. Ukraine gets $1.7 billion loan from Canada, backed by the Russian assets. Thank you so much to Canada. The money has arrived. Norway to deploy F-35 fighter jets to Poland to protect Ukrainian aid hub. Norway is going to send F-35 fighter jets to Poland this fall to protect this airport, which is the key transportation hub for the NATO military aid to Ukraine. I'm guessing the United States was doing this before and they don't want to do it anymore, but either way, thank you so much to the Norwegians. Final video I have for you once again is a Ukrainian defender coming home after a year and seeing the reaction of his dog, seeing him for the first time in a year. That's all for this update video. Glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. If you found this video informative, give me a thumbs up. Best way to support the channel. Comments and questions, let me know down below. I love hearing from you guys. Till the next video, keep defending the truth, keep defending democracy.
Hello valued viewers, I hope you're all doing wonderfully well. The F4U Corsair has of course been out for a week and a half in DCS and we're doing all sorts of fun stuff with it. Dog bites, carrier landings, all kinds of cool stuff. Today we wanted to do another carrier landing skill competition, but on steroids. It's Simba's idea. It's the 5 ways carrier landing competition. We've got 5 carriers from different eras. We've got an Essex class carrier from World War II. We've got a Nimitz from, what, 60s, question mark? We've got Forrestal from the 1950s. We've got a Kuznetsov class from 80s. Must be 80s. And we've got Argentinian, that was actually a British 1950s carrier. What we've got to do is we can be 3 types of planes. We can either be an F4U Corsair, or we can be a 1980s Legacy Hornet, or we can be a 1970s Tomcat. You've got to take that plane, guys, and take it off from the carrier that you're on. You can use the catapult if you want, or you can just take off using the long axis of the carrier. At that point, it's very simple. You've got to land on each carrier in turn. In which order you can decide. If you want to land straight on Forrestal and then take off and then land on Nimitz and then take off and land on this one, that's up to you. But you've got to take off and land on every single carrier. Now, if you land and you're damaged to the point where you cannot take off again, so you damage your landing gear, you're blown up, whatever, then shoot. You've got to respawn on an initial carrier and start the whole dang process again. If you decide, let's say you're using an F4 and it's just too hard for you, which most of us will probably find, then you can reset and start again in an easier plane, like a Hornet. That's it. We haven't tried it, so we have no idea what's going to happen. But guys, anything to add or any predictions?
You must catch the catapult, just because the F4U can come in super slow, and you can use brakes. If you didn't catch the cable, doesn't count.
Welcome in viewers, here we go. Those are a bunch of carriers and I'm on one of them in an F4 because we have to use this plane. We have Fire, Simba, Hasina, Grump, Dark, Violet, Moi and Dirty. Hello guys.
Hello guys.
F4 next to me, we probably don't have the ability to open wings at the same time and damn well I'm not waiting for you, so just bear that in mind. Whoever's got the server, unpause please. Wings down.
Mark her roll forward a little bit.
Wings down. It's mine. It's mine. It's mine. I'm doing my wings down. Ha ha ha! Dock it down. Look, you're having to get out of the way. Right, I've got to put my pin in. This point, viewers, we have to remember how to fly the plane, which is the next challenge. So that done. Tail wheel locked. Prop speed maxed. Mixture. Rich flaps. Down. Cowls. Open. It's clear in front of me for some reason. Did that guy manage to take off? You know what? I don't care. Wheel brakes on. Check. I'm going to zoom out. Check. I'm going to full throttle. Check. Let it dip and go. Right. I'm probably the first one up, right?
No, second.
You're not. Right. I'm going to try landing. Oh my god! My plane blew up as it took off. That's new. Well,
Directional.
Okay, well, whatever that was, I guess we try again. Has anyone been blowing up, taking the F4U off, as in everything's perfect and then it just blows up?
I've not tried it yet.
Let's hope it was a fluke.
Oh, they really put me in a awkward position here, like right in front of the body.
Oh, fuck. It's like I'm catching a wire as I go out and then the whole thing just blows up. You try it, Cena. Obviously, I've run into a major problem.
Have you tried not blowing up?
Oh, well, you know what? That's actually really clever, Dark. I really value your contribution today. Someone's already landed. Some dude's already landed, and we haven't even figured out to take off yet. Hey, guy, land on that Russian carrier. Keep me posted, Cena. Wow, you know what? There's a giant flag on the back of the Russian carrier. A, that's so Russian. B, that's not very useful.
I tried going off like the side to see if it was like a thing, so I'll try going.
Did you blow up, Hazina?
No, I just tried to go off the side just to see if that affected anything. I'll soon give you a thing on it from the
Are you airborne or not?
Not yet.
Alright, so we're still not got an F4 up. Never mind. We'll persevere, guys. We always find a way. Grump's getting ready to go. Dirty's going on. Forrestal, question mark? Yes, Forrestal. Look at you nerds and your friggin' Hornets.
Yeah, I got an F4U up. So.
It worked for you?
Yeah, I'm up. I'm up.
Right. Okay. Does someone watch my takeoff? Or I don't know.
Yeah, I'm up as well.
I'm dirty. That's definitely done, so put it down, pull it up, check. Reach her in.
Pilot shooting Cat 1.
That up, check. That down, check, check.
Did you put any flaps in?
Yeah, full flap. That is right, isn't it?
I didn't need full flap. I only put like 2 notches down.
That's what I did in my tutorial.
I'll try down on the Knets off.
I'll try it one more time, guys. If not, I'll go less flat. Right. Not using any toe brakes just in case that bugs it. Come on, please get me airborne. Airborne. No idea what that was all about, but something happened. Anyway, we fix that now, viewers. Minor delay, we'll catch up, don't worry. I'm going straight onto the S6. Yeah, call out your carriers once you landed and taken off, guys, so the viewers can't watch you all.
Pilot inbound for the S6.
Nerd. Have you heard that, pilot? You're a nerd.
Nerd.
Thank you, Fantastic. Always on the button. Yeah, that's definitely
Up and down on the Forrestal.
You guys pressing all the buttons and touching all the knobs. Right, I'm definitely good. I'm definitely configured. I'm not on speed. I'm anything but on speed, but that's okay. We'll fix that. Final midway. No, come on, Essex. What a strange name for an American carrier. There's no Essex. There's no place called Essex in America.
Right behind you, Cap.
Well, don't ram me. If you ram me, I will. Really, F4, now's the time to spawn? Right now is when you spawn in?
Up down safe on the Forrestal.
We may have had a small coming together. Hi, Violet.
I'm honest.
Yes. Oh, no, yeah, come on!
I tried to avoid you.
Almost a perfectly serviceable plane. Well, oh, and I got smashed by the front of the friggin' ship as well. God damn it. Right. Minor issues. Well, we're getting plenty of takeoff practice. What about landing?
Well, Cap, I think you may have your thumbnail for the video.
Well, that's important, guys.
Airport.
That's only if you're taking a picture.
Let's get some speed to get up to the next carrier.
Where are you going now? I'm just going to do the Essex. I'm going to concentrate on the Essex, and then I'm going to mature
I'm going to assume this is the Argentinian.
All right, that's gonna be my finishing carrier because I feel like it's the hardest one to land on.
You can't go too fast on the carrier deck or the ground crew will stop your airframe.
That sounds like a you problem.
I am also making that a you problem, Violet.
Cup on final for the Kuznetsov.
Cup final, Essex, so hurry up.
Oh, someone blew up on the Argentinian one.
Yeah, that was me.
Goes down. Gets down.
Take off F4. How long does it take to push the damn lever forward?
I'm going to read all of my checklists, Cap.
Brilliant. That's going to end well. Okay, fine, you took off.
Okay.
Yes. Start.
Oh, no problem. Nothing's going on with the ship at all. There's not an elevator that's slightly down halfway.
Yes. I effing took off. I landed my first carrier, the Essex. Right, I'm good. That up. Nose, tail wheel, unhook. I've got to spin it round now, viewers. Oh my god.
Too quick. But it's fine. I had this weird book where it just says awaiting wing fold on my screen.
100% making that you problem. Right, I'm taxiing to the back of the Essex. Please, no one land on the Essex. I can't speed this up. Done. Now I want to turn around. Work with me here. Oh my god, the carrier's turning. Or something's happening.
Kuznetsov's turning.
Okay, well, at least no one's going to be landing on it. What do I do? It's already done. That's done. That's done. I've got to do the tail wheel. Alright, time to make history, viewers. As the frigging carrier turned, what could go wrong? Oh my god.
Absolutely nothing.
Oh my god.
Pilot setting up for approach for the Essex.
Cap preparing to be frigging hero mode. Hero mode about to happen. Please don't hit those guns. Please don't hit those guns. Please don't hit those guns. Hero mode engaged, and it's confirmed. Absolute hero. There was nothing that was easy about that. Unfortunately, I can't really watch the others, viewers, because it's going to take 100% of my concentration to do this. So you're just going to have to live through their voices and their frustration. Well, the carriers are miles away from each other. How did that happen? Why really taking that long?
I just landed on the Argentinian one, but the wire bent my prop from the snake.
Well, that's you. You're done. You've got to start all over from scratch.
Whoever just landed on the Stennis, you broke both of your rear gear.
Haha, you're doing it all
Yeah,
over
good
from
luck
scratch.
on that one. Well, it would appear that everybody's doing them all over again.
Yeah.
Not me. I'm doing just dandy, guys.
I don't want to talk about it.
He doesn't, guys. He doesn't want to talk about it. Okay.
I don't want to talk about it either.
Nettle.
Oh, the carriers
Two
have turned round,
turns.
and they're going back.
Grind, Belladonna.
That happened a lot quicker than I thought it was going to happen.
One
I
turn.
found out why it was blowing up. That effing lift has gone down in the Essex. God, why has that happened?
Oh, yeah.
The lift's gone down. That's why I was blowing up. Okay, smoking limits. Prepare to be landed upon. Yeah, I said it, upon. Oh, those crews are really out.
Just gonna do the Essex whilst I'm here.
Yeah,
Corner,
down.
please get out of the way.
I got down the blue. Hook down.
You might want to spread your
Pilot
wings.
on the Essex.
You push the buttons, what you did there. Right, I've got four hooks to catch on this. This should be not much fun at all.
Pilot, your gear is broken.
Ha ha. You start again. Nerd.
You know what else is broken? The crew members on here. This guy's standing still, and it's bugged.
Making that you from I'd have to wait for that.
What you could do is you could go out and disable your super carrier and come back in.
Yeah, well, that makes it.
It's just gonna take off from the Forrestal instead.
Good choice, because I'm about to try and land on the mother. Our viewers, I need to see anything that could possibly go wrong right now.
You just don't want to hook up to the catapult. Catapults are for people who use catapults.
And on approach to the Essex.
I landed on the Nimitz. I'm the best person ever. And that's literally official. Can't believe I did that, guys. Right. I can literally take off straight off again. So, get ready. Alright, 2 carriers down. And off we go. By fire. Oh no, I've exceeded maximum velocity. Like I give a shit about that. See you all in hell. And airborne. Ah, la 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 la. Celebrations are in order for the F4U. Right, where's my next one? Has anyone seen Forrestal?
They're all coming back to the middle.
Visual Forrestal. Apparently I'm awaiting wing folds, which is a bit weird, but okay. Well, we'll just have to learn to live with it, Hasina. Oh, someone bolted.
I'm gonna go disable my super carrier.
Get that done.
Yeah, there's someone on the deck.
Alright, third carrier, Forrestal.
Here we go.
Red Tomcat, I'm not long going to be landing where you are. Chop,
Water.
chop, please. Sorry, Red Hornet. Choppity chop, old buddy.
Dandelion.
Flaps down, gears down.
Dandelion for one.
Hooks down. Please. Hooks down. Alright. Grump doesn't bother catapult anymore. Catapults are frigging wusses. Yeah, I said it, wusses. What are they for, Grump?
Nerds.
There it is. There's out of the horse's mouth. I went to a farm the other day, took baby to a farm, and we saw a Shire horse. Do you get Shire horses in America?
The hell's a Shire horse?
Friggin' unbelievable.
Big ass
We don't
fucking
have
things.
Shires in America because we're American.
They're massive.
Yeah.
You guys
Water.
Especially the Worcester kind. We don't do that here.
2 dandelion for 1. Marigold.
They Worcester?
Carry that's on fire next.
Yeah, well. No, you probably. Oh, frames per second all gone for some reason, and basically. Right. Frames per second go to about 2 when landing on Forrestal, so that should be fun for me. Never mind, I did not damage myself. Going around, viewers. Let's try again, shall we? Fires overshot Forrestal like a friggin' noob. Hey noob, go back to War Thunder.
I'm about to smoke this Corsair if it lands here.
What I've got now, viewers, is okay. No FPS when landing on this. There's just a bug or something going on.
Trap for whatever reason.
Well, it's great getting some practice landing, right? I mean, my confidence has grown massively just today. No, it's the same problem. I'm going to have to skip Forrestal. It's causing me major gameplay problems.
Maximum velocity exceeded. Alright.
Just close your eyes, Cap. It'll work.
Yeah, pretty much my standard SOP. USOP.
Basically, yeah.
Uh-oh. That's a you problem.
Things should have been coming together on the deck.
Cap landed 1 FPS, as in I literally can't even look around in my cockpit. I landed the goddamn F4 on the Forrestal. You can all send me letters of genius soon. You see that view? I can't even look around. What is that all about? Getting out of the way.
Dirty down on the Mayo.
Can't take off with this VS, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do to fix this.
It appears I can't even get back into the server.
Well, that's even worse than my problem. I've got some big problems going on here, but that's even worse than mine, Brian.
Ooh, Hornet, better watch out. I'm coming in.
I'm waiting for you.
Quicker I get off this carrier, the better.
Man, this maximum velocity reach thing is going to be a pain in the ass.
Yeah, you notice that?
Yeah.
Airball.
Yeah, and then once I got turned around to take off from the carrier, as soon as I put my throttle full forward, it just brought me to a dead stop and said, awaiting active catapult.
Got my FPS back.
I'm going to request launch.
Just right.
I guess I'm just going to have to disable the frickin' carrier thing.
Down.
Because the ground crew is bugged.
Yeah, down. Check.
They won't let you, like you landed on it, won't let you just like taxi to the back and then take off?
Nope.
Down.
No, if you go faster than like 5 knots, they automatically stop.
Oh, okay.
They say maximum velocity reach.
Bye-bye, Hasina. That final Russian
Well,
carrier.
yeah, the Stennis is supposed to be the only non-super carrier.
Are these ships going to crash?
Yeah.
I've got a bad feeling about this. Please don't be in my way. Oh, I forgot about the massive flag on the back. That's not going to really bite me in the butt.
How do I disable a module?
Are you kidding? It's turning right now. Now's the time it's turning. Are you effing kidding me?
Uh-oh, that's a collision between the 2 carriers.
They're fine. They're fine. They're just carrier mating.
And that's how new carriers are made.
When a mommy carrier and a daddy carrier love each other very much.
John, I have to... No idea what's going on. Anything can be happening now, viewers. Ladies and gentlemen, whatever game this is. Okay, I'm just completely stopped. I've decided I'm going to watch you guys for a bit. The problem I've got is I'm so restricted by tech problems, I can't really do it. If you guys can carry on, go at 4, land. And is he going to do it? Is he going to do it? Is he going to do it? He did not do it. Yes, he did. Well done, whoever you are. Nameless McGee.
I put the power fully forward as soon as the thing did.
Yes, so do I. Uh-oh, fire. I'm not sure if that classifies as continuable. We'll try it.
Gears bent?
He only had one wing. Planes work miles better with 2 wings, guys.
Allegedly.
Well, at the
They
beginning,
won't repair my plane.
I thought it was going to be Hornets.
Them's the rules.
Them's the rules. I thought it was going to be Hornets that won this, but...
Well, the problem with the Hornet is you have to bleed the fuel down or you damage the gear. So
Now's
that's
the
what
time for
happened.
the F4U to catch up whilst other carriers are really close, because they could just like quick sit down and do the Essex now nicely here.
Yeah, that DeMeo doesn't have much runoff, does it, guys? Jesus Christ.
It really doesn't count.
Cena's going for... Oh, Cena. That's new. That's fun. Good landing. Good, solid landing. I don't know how you're going to take off because, FYI, the front lift is down. It very much blew me off.
We'll see.
So, just saying.
We'll raise the left wing.
Jesus Christ. Bit of a close one, guys. Right, Cena's just taken off. Oh, good luck, fine. Dirty.
I can't see
What a nerd.
end.
What a nerd. I've never seen someone so nerdy. I don't even know what carrier that is. That is Forrestal.
Taking a super cam.
It's a bolter. Oh, and he smashed his gear up.
Ah, got it.
Rip. Unfortunate. The question is not gone to who's going to win. The question is, can anyone complete the course? Not get either tech problems or lack of skill. Can anyone achieve that? Cena's coming in completely blind here.
Carrier's turning a bit. So.
Yeah, it's really hard to land on like that. Slam that mother. Go on. Oh, yeah, there's some great piloting going on here. Right. Fire is on Russian carrier. Let's hope they're compatible. Watch that flagpole. No one ever listens about the flagpole.
If you contact the carrier, it'll put the flagpole down.
Ah, right. Dirty.
It's the Russian and the Argentine one now.
And that's where I got to. And then, but the problem is when I landed on the Russian one, my game freezes. So hopefully you don't get that problem too. Flagpole down.
Quite close together.
Go round parade. Go round parade. Are you going to take off on the ramp, Fire?
Hey, firm.
And are you confident it's not going to smash your gear up? Because that's not a ramp-rated gear. Go on, Red, because you've got a guy coming in on you.
That's as much energy as I can put into it, yeah, pretty much.
Absolutely. F-U-C-K-E-D. Well done, Fire. Go around dark. No good.
I just had to go around on the Russian one.
Did you get the same problem as me?
Floated a little bit. No, I just no FPS issues. I just floated a little bit too much. Too much speed.
Jeez, good luck, Cinder. That's not gonna. Oh my god, that was, should we say, touch and go?
I was hoping that they would repair my gear, but they will not.
Something's happened to your window, Grum.
Really? What was that?
Just it's a bit smudgy, dirty.
Ah, okay.
Has anybody completed 3 carriers?
I've completed 3. I'm on the 4th.
Yeah, he'll do it. He'll do it. The F4 can do it.
The F4U, yeah.
Pending.
The Hornets are destroying their gear every time they land with more than 5,000 pounds of fuel.
100% inferior plane. Well done.
Well done.
One more, Hasina. One more. Oh, and you get to use the ram. This is. You're gonna hit your prop. You're gonna hit your prop. Don't do it. Take off backwards. Take off backwards. Why won't he listen?
80.
Oh my giddy aunt.
There we go.
Jesus Christ.
Nice control.
Yeah, I bet you were capping yourself just like me there. Mental note, you can't use the ramp, guys, with the prop plane, it will bust you. Right, Casino's got one more to do, and then we've proven the best plane is the F4.
Oh. No pressure.
Lots of pressure. A whole bunch of pressure going on here.
Under pressure.
Watch out for that flagpole, Grum.
Just had to get into the groove.
You did have to get into the groove.
I surrender.
That's a destroyed gear on the Hornet. Just landed on the Forrestal.
Somebody's
You spawn. You spawn.
Alright. Oh my god, what's happening there? Fire, no! Gutted. It's about to be 1 anyway. I'll wait. Hurry up, F-14, get up the way.
That's not how it works.
Thank you.
You
Alright, everyone is watching this, and everyone wants you to do well.
No, they're not watching.
No one's watching this, and no one wants you to do well.
Have you seen him usually asleep?
Please don't taxi Hornet. Be considerate. Yes!
Hey,
F4 won it! How ultimately sexy is that? Alright, take off F4 and just do something interesting and weird. Now, can any of the jets do this? Well, it sounds like they're smashing themselves up, so probably not, right? But
I mean,
It says a waiting wing fold on my screen, so I may as well fold my wings.
we would it would take 40 minutes for any of us to get through this. Nobody's gonna land on all 5 carriers in 10 minutes.
I'm inclined to
But
agree.
they all do still have to sail back to the middle.
Violet, big ball Violet with the wings up. Does it anyway. Nice. Stop good, Bob.
Oh no, my wings are down.
Fantastic. I have no idea how you. Maybe it'll catch this time at an oblique 45-degree angle. Maybe that's what you were doing wrong all along. Go around. You screwed it. You screwed the pooch. Oh, Jesus, you almost clipped that sucker. Just crossed.
Oh, I'm skimming the water too.
A lot of Hornets struggling to get on that Russian carrier.
See, that's what you were missing, Grump. You had your canopy on the whole time, now you're taking it off. You might get bent.
I've never had my canopy on this entire time.
Because it's strong. He doesn't like the extra weight, and he prefers the noise it makes like this.
I like the wind going through my hair.
Mm-hmm. Which sounds kind of sexy, but I've read about a phantom that had a seagull go through its window, canopy, and what it's actually like to fly at 400 knots with no canopy.
You know, there was a British Airways pilot that
yes,
that took it an extra step and flew the plane
jumped out.
outside of the plane.
It's almost like a meme, guys.
Yeah.
This, just how unpleasant it is. The blood and guts from the bird got pushed by the 400 knot airflow of the wind over time in through the guy's helmet. Well, you know what I mean, through his stuff, into his eyes, and back into his brain through his eyes. That's what 400 knots of gust can do.
I like Grump's confidence that this Hornet in front of him is not going to catch.
Yeah, how about that, guys?
Grump next to him.
Grump.
Yes,
Grump. He's doing it anyway. He doesn't give an S about this stuff. Oh, unsociable! You can still fly like that. You're fine. Guy who lost his tail.
I like how there's like 5 carriers and they're all trying to land on the same carrier.
Yeah, welcome to all humans.
It may or may not be because it's giving us a lot of problems.
They're pack animals.
We want to go ahead and get it out of the way.
Hold up, Dirty, let him land. Because Trump, as we know, stops for no man. Oh, just
No,
go.
That's what you need. You need that dynamic instability.
Agreed, right? So we're on those authority when taking off from a ski ramp.
Donald Trump makes his way to Florida to see the sights, take in some sun, and dehumanize people at every turn. This is just another day. While traveling in Florida's Everglades today to survey the newly constructed migrant detention center dubbed Alligator Alcatraz, Trump finally got the news he'd been waiting for. No, not that his daughter Ivanka is totally cool with incest. It was this.
Oh, thank you. Wow. Thank you.
We may or may not have just heard what it sounds like when Donald Trump orgasms. Just an old man moaning with people standing around and applauding. But sadly, Trump had reason to gleefully moan. No, I'm okay. Today, the Republican-controlled Senate passed a bill that would kick millions of low-income Americans off of Medicaid and food stamps while rewarding the wealthiest in this country with more tax cuts. And besides the truly catastrophic effect that this legislation will have on so many people, the tactic this administration used to get it across the finish line was just as depressing. And that tactic? Dehumanization.
Waste, fraud, and abuse.
What we're doing is we're going after waste, fraud, and abuse, and there's a heck of a lot of it out there.
He wants to get rid of the waste, fraud, and abuse.
You return the dignity of work to young men who need to be out working instead of playing video games.